Oh man.
Yeah,
And so I'm okay. My worst night was my worst nightmare.
right. Didn't he lose his quiver? And why is the quiver back on the bow? And people, there was a whole discussion online about that. And
Let me grab my bow.
yeah, grab your bow. Yeah,
Grab my. I had myself custom made. It was made
custom.
out of that. I knew that if I got like a stomach parasite.
I have to say that part of your story there and was a piece of art.
Did you
Like
know that the camera was on? You're one armed because you got a camera. It's unique and it's not something you can get in your backyard.
Welcome to the wild.
hello,
Okay,
Cade. How's it going?
good. How are you, man?
Doing good, man. Long time no see you. It's so weird. It's like what? Last time
I
I
know.
saw you, we were at the camp,
I know. It's great. It's great. It's kind of refreshing to see everybody not so nervous.
right? Yes. At the lodge, we were all like, trying to learn so much. Trying to.
Right. Oh, and you're trying to be friendly with everybody, but you got a lot of nerves too, and you're trying to size everybody up. And
Yes.
what's going on?
No, absolutely. We were like learning a lot of things, and but also like checking out everyone, seeing like, it's everyone's a mystery for us, right?
It was funny for me though because like I'm just kind of laughing because I could see the look on everybody's face, but for me it was like, oh man, I'm a one trick pony. Like I'm
Uh,
looking at everybody else. I'm looking at everybody else, and I'm looking at I'm looking up at everybody else because you guys are
right,
so
right,
much. Me. I was like, oh man, there's some. These guys are gonna stick around. These guys are gonna stick around.
right. If a moose come across this guy, that's it. Like there's no question about it. So
Yeah,
it was
I was
very.
practicing.
What's up?
I was practicing pretty hard.
Yes, yes. Um, but talking about practicing, and so I mean, you are a cowboy, but also you're also like a hunter, and you guide hunts. How do you put those two things together? Because when I think about a cowboy, I don't necessarily think about a mountain hunter, for
Uh,
big game. How do you put those things together?
that's been a funny thing. That's kind of been a funny thing like my whole life. Because like I'm not a cowboy. I don't. My answer to this question always because people ask, "Are you a cowboy?" And production asked me, "Are you a cowboy?" I'm telling them, "Was Jeremiah Johnson a cowboy?" And
Mm,
everybody says, "Jeremiah Johnson's just a mountain man, right?" And
right,
like
right, 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 right,
movie, if you love the outdoors, like it's like the movie. Jeremiah
right.
Johnson's awesome. I grew up as a kid. I just like love that movie. So I decided like when I grow up, I want to be Jeremiah Johnson.
Like the mountain man and the cowboy just kind of came together. But good luck now convincing the whole world that you're not a cowboy. I think that battle is long lost, my friend. You're the cowboy. There's no
I love in the funny skit. Um,
that's it. That's it. That's it. Yes.
yeah,
To be up in the mountains and with horse, I mean, it takes skills that you learn through a lifetime, right? I
right,
mean, to deal with mule, they're great, but you need to know how to handle them, right?
right. Yeah, and it takes years. Like I've got a lifetime in this, and so I kind of think that's what you know working with horses and working with animals in general, and then hunting animals at the same time. Uh, there's so much more to it. Working with the horses, it kind of helps in the hunting side too, because you start to understand that that you're a predator and you think
Right,
differently than
right,
prey animals, and then you start looking about how can you make yourself more vulnerable? How can you kind of see into the world of a prey animal? How
right,
can you understand the mind of a prey animal? And it's very similar in hunting as it is to working with horses, that they're a reflection of yourself,
right,
and however you react, whether it be aggressive or cowardly or whatever, like you'll
right.
get that in return. You get that. So it's kind of a push and give type
Interesting.
of thing. And so it takes a lifetime to learn, but then
Right,
once you kind of get in the mind of those animals, it makes it easier to understand. I understand why they act because I understand how they react to
Right.
things.
Right.
So then it makes it easier to pattern and say, okay, this is why this happens.
Right.
And so when I go to a new place, like an island in the middle
Right.
of Saskatchewan,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to be in this animal's mind. What would I do if I was here?
Right,
You know?
right. In which, we're gonna touch upon that, right? Because we're gonna talk about your hunt there and your strategy on
Right,
that,
right.
right? We're gonna talk about that. And just to also it's you said something that was very interesting about, like, when you're hunting, right? You really learn about the animal, right? You really learn their behavior, you really learn about them in ways that you can never really learn really in any other way. For example, growing up, right, I trapped like hundreds and hundreds of birds. and even the word in Portuguese to hunt bird, with the slingshot or whatever, it's called birding. But birding here is watching birds, right? And learn about the birds that way. But birding would translate to Brazil in Portuguese into like hunting a bird. And
Right.
by hunting them, I need to understand every single nuance of the call, right? Because the chirp that they give, it can be, it can mean different things according to intensity or whatever. I have to learn where they like to be, what fruit they like to eat. And, so that, again, you're a hunter, right? You're studying that animal, and you learn the nuance. You as a hunter, you can see that a deer are stressed and is going to run by the movement of their body, right?
Right.
Right. But any little twitch, like what's going to happen. So I hear you, and it's like it's very hard for people to understand the level of learning that exists in the pursuit of a game.
Right. And it takes a lifetime, and
Right.
you'll never learn it all.
Right.
You never learn, and you'll never be right. You'll never be right 100% of the time.
Right. Right.
That's one thing that is for certain, is that you'll never be 100% certain.
Right. Yes, and because also every animal has its own identity. Let's say its own personality, right?
Yep.
Then, although you know how in general they behave, you still have to learn how that one might behave.
Yep.
Yep. So let's talk about the mindset of you coming to the show alone, right? What was like your game plan and your mindset, coming into the game? So clearly on the show really show you focus on the pursuit of big game, right? With your bow and arrow. And you come to lose your quiver, in which I cannot even imagine the shock on that, right? But the show really portrayed your how hard that was for you. But coming into the game, before that moment, what was your mindset?
Yeah. Okay. So so going into the show, I told myself kind of beforehand going into it, I live a really, really active outdoor lifestyle. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to gain weight for the show. Even if I wanted to, it's just
Right.
not something that I wasn't going to be able to take the time to work or not work as hard as I
Right.
have to be able to put on weight. And then on top of that, I figured I'm not big enough that I can gain enough weight for it to really make much difference anyways,
Right.
compared to probably what I'll be up against. So I knew going into it that I was going to have a pretty unique strategy, in that I was just going to go as hard and fast as I
Right.
could, every kind of food source I could come up with from the get-go.
Right.
Um, so there was some unexpected uh, trials and tribulations with that, because first thing out of the gate, day one, I started making my gill net. And
Wait a minute. Wait. Let's stop right here, because I don't even remember seeing you making a gill net.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't think my gill net ever made the show.
Wow. Okay. So you're making a gill net. Okay.
Yeah. So I made my gill net. Day one. I think I put it in the water day two. I finished it day two.
Okay.
And I put it in the water day two. I was feeling good about it. I had a
Nice.
rock that I liked, and I was thinking, all right, this is gonna work.
Right.
And so the evening of day one, I started kind of just slightly scouting, and what I was doing is I was really slow circles.
Man.
Like a step every 5 minutes, really slow circles, and I was kind of working my way out. And I found a rub,
Ooh.
and I found a rub, and I was eating berries kind of as I go. I kind of stop and eat berries, and then dark. So I ease back to my shelter.
So, and make sure that you explain what a rub is, because some people that might watch this video might not know actually.
Okay, yeah. So the rub that I found, the first rub that I found was a spruce tree, and like ungulates, moose, caribou, elk, mule deer, white-tailed deer, all the ungulates that grow antlers, they rub on trees, and a lot of it depends. Everybody's a little different. Every animal's a little different, but it's generally as much a sign of aggression and kind of like start of the rut and like mark territory as much as it is kind of a signal for females that there's a breeding age male in the area.
Yeah.
And so that was good for me because I knew, okay, I thought it was a moose. I've got a moose making rubs because they were big rubs.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, all right, this is good. So I got to ease out, and I just got to let this happen organically and not try to force it.
Right.
So then I'm feeling good. I got my gill net in the water. I figure I won't even worry about fishing right now.
Right.
My gill net in the water, it's going to get me food passively. I put a couple of snares out, and I'm like, my goal now is to find the moose that's making these rubs.
Wow.
And so that's kind of why I think first episode, you notice it's just basically nothing but me hunting, because that's all I did for the first 3 days, and I finally, I couldn't find tracks because everything was just, you know how it was out there. It was just like mushy moss and just the ground is alive.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So I couldn't find any real tracks. Nothing that was really like definitive enough to tell me a story.
Right. Yeah.
And so I found another rub.
Ooh.
I found the rub. Now, moose don't normally rub in lines, but I'm in a different area, and I'm kind of looking back, and I see, there's raised, less swampy areas. You know what I'm talking about. There was more traveled paths.
Right.
And I connected the two, and I noticed that the rubs were about 400 yards apart.
Huh. Not too far.
In my head, I immediately thought it's very similar to a white-tailed deer. But white-tail will rub in lines.
I see.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if this is a rub line. Yeah, you got to understand. I've been hunting Shiras moose, out here, but they're totally different animal. It's that moose is so far removed from this moose.
Right.
They're still animals, but it's a totally different area, and they're isolated, right? So, this isolated species in this particular part of Canada, they might just do something a little bit different. Might be that nuance, like we were talking about.
Right.
So I find another rub, and I put that rub together, and it's a straight line.
Wow.
And so I knew, okay, I've got a rub line. Now I just need to find a food source. And I kind of kept making my circles real slow. And by the end of day two, I had found willows that had been eaten on.
Ooh.
And I knew I found a pretty beaten down trail, and a rub. That last rub was about it was like 40 something yards from the trail there.
Nice.
And so that up, I started building a small blind in between the kind of a triangle from the rub to me to the trail.
Right.
And so he'll either come out and eat these willows straight towards me, or he'll go to the rub. But either way, if he goes to the rub, he'll be about 30 yards. If he goes to the willows, he'll be about 10 yards.
Oh,
And
nice,
so,
nice triangulation there. Yeah.
yeah, and so I thought, like, this is a good plan of attack, because
Right.
I have a food source, I have a rub, I have two things that he's repetitively gone to, and a trail. So I'm putting all these factors together, and I set myself up where I've got, you know,
Right,
where
right.
I've got a chance. And day 3 comes along, and I eased out there, and man, I sat, and I called. I made my birch bark moose call.
Right, right, right.
And I kind of started carving lures and stuff while I was sitting, trying to,
Right.
do things at once. And I was calling, and it was getting later in the evening, and the sun was kind of starting to get to that nice golden hour.
Wow.
And I could hear some footsteps.
Oh, no way.
They were like with a purpose, I could hear
Right.
them coming. And so, man, my heart started beating. I haven't had buck fever since I was a kid. I was shaking.
Oh, man.
I'm waiting. And they used some of the audio that they used. He comes out, and I could see the tip of his antler kind of behind a spruce tree.
Wow.
And he was right on the trail. And so I knew that if he came out on the trail and stepped out, that I'd have a shot. Like, I've got him. And so I had my arrow knocked, and I'm ready, and I'm waiting, and I'm kind of trying to calm myself down because I'm breathing so hard.
Right.
Man, because you're all hyped up.
Right.
And waited forever.
Wow.
Kind of waiting. And he was staging me. And so, like, staging is a term, like he's waiting for the wind to change, or waiting for me to move, or waiting for me to fall again, something, so that he can pinpoint me to make sure what I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Which sometimes like, sometimes you get that, but I think that should have been my first tell that it wasn't a moose.
Yeah, because a moose, I suspect the moose kind of just go for it, right?
Right, because if it was a moose, he might have staged me, but most likely he would have just came to the cow call.
Right.
But being that it was a caribou, he was just curious as to what was there.
I see.
And so, anyway, if what seemed like an eternity was probably like 30 seconds.
Right.
He stepped out, and it's like my heart hit the bottom of my stomach, because I was just like, oh, that's the only animal that I can't kill, right?
Right.
So much meat standing in front of you,
and beautiful too, huh?
Oh man, and gorgeous, beautiful rack, and so the worst part of it is that I double clicked the camera, for part of it, so like, because I had the multiple cameras going, so
right.
I clicked the camera, so like you kind of get him going away. It kills me that we don't have that, like, of him standing there.
Wow.
So beautiful.
Wow. So I mean, it's amazing. I mean, the show also showed you, like, being being that mix of, like, wow, what a beautiful animal, but also like, damn it, you invested a good amount of energy just creating the perfect situation, the best situation possible.
Right.
And it's so satisfying, so beautiful that you're like, you create the best situations possible there for you, and you put yourself in a place, and the animal come to it. Right? It's just like, you just need one thing to be the right animal.
Well, and that's kind of like what I like. I kind of joke about with some of my friends and stuff, is that, like, a lot of guys on that archery hunt,
Right.
like, pretty religiously know, like, man, bow hunting is hard because there's so much luck involved, right?
Right.
And you try to visualize and put yourself in a place for success. And I've been guiding hunts, I've been doing it for other people, right? So it's like literally my profession to try and set you up for success. It's like, I think he's out here, so I want you to be here.
Right.
And it's very rarely does it happen in the way that you imagine it.
Uh-huh.
and that happened exactly the way I imagined it. So it was like even more heartbreaking. It was like the perfect archery hunt and the wrong animal. But that's hunting. That's hunting, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean, I'm gonna share a caribou story with you. It didn't make it's not on the show because I didn't get on the camera. So basically, if it if I didn't record, it didn't exist, right? But it exists. I promise. So I was going to my calling spot was like on the edge of a huge swamp area, right? And and then there was a trail crossing that swamp. I found the bedding. I found the bedding. I found the bedding where they were sleeping, man.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, but it was like, large. It seems like, so I was so happy. It was fresh also, it was kind of fresh on the edge of the swamp, still inside of the swamp, but with a little more of ground under some trees. So I was going to my calling spot, right? My spot that I was off, they would come out of the swamp and the marsh, to come to eat some willows. So so I was going there, almost every day, to keep calling them, So, I woke up very early in the morning. It was cold, so I got the camera, very early. And since I was going there every day, I just got the camera, and I didn't waste time in between my shelter and my spot, my calling spot. So I just went there straight. So I got the camera, didn't turn nothing on, and I went there, and all of a sudden, on the middle of my path, I just hear the whole forest like breaking down, man. It was like all trees was like breaking, and it was coming. The noise, the sound was coming towards me. It's like, what the fuck, man? Maybe it's two moose fighting, because everything was like all hell's breaking loose, and it was coming towards me, and it's like, and you like you goosebump, right? Like, a fever, right? Like you're like, fuck, and it's like, though, I thought it was like a moose coming towards me. Maybe they were fighting or something like that. So there was a bush with elder. So I tried to turn on the camera, trying one, but it was too cold, so the battery died. And I tried the other one, the memory card fell. You know what I'm saying? Like, and on the sudden I was like, fuck this recording thing, I need to kill this thing, So I went behind the elder bush, and they were coming, they were coming, getting closer. So I went behind the bush and, got ready, knocked an arrow, and I was ready. Man, when I saw beautiful caribou, one behind the other, two of them, one, I think they heard me moving and they came to check it out.
Yep.
But they came like fast, breaking the branches and shit. And he came like very close to me, like 10, 15 yards, passing by me, and I whistled, right? And I whistled, and he stepped on the brake and turned around me, like just right there in front of me, like, and stopped and looked at me, and I was with the arrow just like, halfway in, and but I could not take the shot. And the other one stopped just behind it. But it was like a beautiful scene. I didn't got to kill it, and I didn't got recorded. So,
it's a shame because like those moments like that, they happen to you, and you'll cherish them the rest of your life.
Right.
But it doesn't make the show, and it's like, I don't know. I think that that's an equal thing for me, though. I know that some people, I know that different people react to that differently. But I almost think that there's some things, I don't know about you, but for me, there's some things that didn't make the show that I'm almost glad they didn't, because I remember them as they happened and not necessarily on television.
Yeah, because there's a whole drama, right, of a situation like that, and the meaning of it, that might correlate to your experience, or might not, But the production always say, right, to us, like, keep recording all the time because those moments will happen. But you like, it's not gonna happen, I mean, I'm just going to my, calling spot, and then the thing happened, and you're like, oh damn it, I didn't got to record. Right.
Let me grab my charger. Put my charger in because I think I'm about to die.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me grab my charger, and then I'll just move me closer to a plug.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, while Cade is out, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to subscribe to Cade's channel. He posts stuff, him adventuring out there in the mountains, and so that'd be pretty cool. Next up, I'm gonna be talking with Luke as well, and his experience on the show, and him meeting the bear and stuff like that. So that's gonna be exciting. So we are plugged. So there we go.
I'm trying to get me plugged in here.
Yeah. Very
I think
cool.
I got it. I'm using my phone because my computer was dead.
It's cool to know that you were fishing there, because of course the show focused a lot on your hunt, because also you hunted a lot. I mean, you hunted hard. And so, but how was it, talking about the hunt, like how was it, like, man, when you realized that your quiver was missing?
Yeah, so that's like a big story that I didn't do a great job of filming some of that. And so on my site, to explain this, on my site, there's a bay that's like curved,
Mm-hmm.
and then inside my island there was a lake that also had like a curve.
Interesting.
And so they mirrored each other almost. There's the only way I can explain it. And there's quite a ways between each other.
Right.
And so for me, hunting, I'm not focused on where I'm going because I'm looking for movement and pattern.
Right.
And so I was looking for anything that had been eaten on, trails, tracks, rubs, anything like that. And then movement, because so like when you're moving through the woods and you're hunting like that, I'm not looking for a deer or
right.
or a nose to twitch or a tail to wiggle or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm really just focused. I'm trying to focus on the world around me.
Right.
And the sun moves just kind of across the horizon out there. It never really it was hard to keep your bounds as far as like where is west, hard to tell because the sun is moving so fast around the sky.
Right.
And anyway, I ended up getting hung up in a bog following some tracks that I thought were tracks. And I kind of got down in there and I thought I can see the water. So I'll just make a beeline for the water because then I can kind of skirt that to get back to my shelter.
I see.
And so I'm just forever in this bog and I'm sinking down to my shins in water,
man.
Through this stuff, but I'm trying to get out. But those trees they're all the same height and they're so close together.
Right.
And it's the last tree is chest high and everything. And so finally I just put my bow over my back, turned the cameras off. I had the one GoPro on my chest and I put everything on my back and I just started walking. I head down, just pushing through everything.
Right.
I get to this water and I realized that it's the lake and it wasn't the bay. So
okay.
I've done a huge fish hook, out of the way. And I'm kind of at the edge of my boundary. And I put the camera on and stuff and I kind of walking along and I stopped and I eat some berries and my bow is hurting my chest, from my string pulling on me. So I pull it off and I take a couple steps and I'm as I'm pulling off, I'm oh man.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay. Oh man. And then that's kind of what you see. It's
right.
Oh my God. Because yeah, my reaction, honestly, I was fairly confident that I would find the arrows in the quiver. I was really upset that I was gonna have to go back through that bog.
Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes.
was like,
Did you for a
"Going."
moment, for a
Yeah.
moment thought that you were like dreaming?
Huh?
Did you think for a moment that you were like, no, this is not real, this is a dream? Like,
Oh, I I was like, man, it was like my worst night. It was my worst nightmare.
right,
And I was like, oh no, because the whole time in my head I'm thinking, man, I'm burning so many calories
right,
stuck in this thing. I've got to get out of this. But I can't afford to get away from my bearings and not get back to the water, or I'm gonna get lost or something.
right.
And which didn't matter anyways because I ended up being lost anyway. And so I cut some trees with my knife and I made like a star, and I marked the end of my trail. And so I told myself, now I'll go to the bay, I'll go home, I'll sleep, I'll get a good night's sleep. In the morning, I'll try to hunt my way back
Right,
and see if I can find my arrows. And so my goal was, I knew about where I kind of started that. And
right,
so I figured that rather than backtracking and not knowing where I was going, I would
right,
try to start at the beginning and find
right.
my little star I had made.
Yeah, and it
And
makes sense because the way you went through your path was looking forward, right? You have this perspective. If you backtrack, you don't even have that perspective clearly.
yes,
So you gotta
yeah,
you gotta repeat the pattern, right?
yeah. So I've actually had a lot of people kind of like comment about that. And, there's a lot of people online like, why wouldn't the big game hunter backtrack? Because that's actually a good opportunity to kind of teach people that, when you backtrack, like you said, exactly what you said, you see things at a totally different perspective
Right,
going backwards than you do forwards. And so if you can actually mark the end, like here's a definite place where I know that I was missing this,
right,
and then start at the beginning and try to find landmarks that you remember, then okay, like
right,
you that's that. So I'm on the right track, and that
right,
kind of keeps you in that repetition. And so that was my mind frame going into it, and try to like,
right.
like anything else, like a math question you can't solve. Go home, get a good night's sleep, come back to it later. It's always easier.
Right. Yeah. And then now I have a question for you because after that event, a lot of people online started posting pictures, like alone fans, that really like they really watch every single little frame of the show, right? They are like looking for everything on the show, and not just one person, it was like a handful of people. Uh, Went back and watching the whole thing again, maybe looking on your footage to see where the quiver had fallen, and a lot of people started posting picture of you later on after you lost your quiver. People post a picture with you shooting your homemade arrow, which we're going to talk about, but the quiver was there, and people were like, wait a minute, wasn't didn't he lose his quiver, and why is the quiver back on the bow? And people, there was a whole discussion online about that, and because the show didn't show you finding it. So when I mean, you clearly found some parts of it, so what's yeah.
Yeah. So, I've got my own like theory on what happened with the quiver
Uh-huh.
that I kind of put together from um so on my way backtracking, um I was trying to imagine in my head, I assumed that when I put it over my back, um let me grab my bow.
Yeah, grab your bow.
Yeah,
So this is the backstory of
okay,
how the quiver fell off the bow.
the bow and the quiver.
Yeah,
What I think happened was, because I had it across my back, so the limbs on the bow, they're wider and they get thinner,
sure, yeah.
and I think that it just got hung up on a piece of rock,
Mm,
and you see the arrows, they kind of just they get loose, and then the only thing holding it on is just a little rubber strap to kind of hold it.
right,
And so, once it's loose and it can slide down the limb like that, then it's kind of like it's just vulnerable, right? And your arrows,
right.
they're dangling.
Ooh, yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I found the quiver. I went back and found the on my way back, I found the bottom half of the quiver. with the little attachment deals here,
Okay, yes.
and nothing on it.
Oh, that's so weird.
I knew that at that point I was off my trail a little bit. I can't believe I found it.
Wow.
So I found it. I didn't have a camera on. I didn't care about filming. I cared about finding my quiver.
Well, yeah, exactly. At that point, you're like, I mean, it doesn't matter if I record anything. I mean, if yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I don't. So now I'm like, okay, I gotta find the rest of it. So now I've kind of got an idea, and I tried to make a little mark there, and I kind of broke some tree limbs over and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is where I found the bottom. And so I kind of made it a zigzag, got lost, turned around, came back, found my thing. A couple times they did that, and I ended up finding the top half.
Nice.
The broadhead arrow stuck in it still.
Whoa.
So hood still had the arrow.
Right.
And you know, it just got loose eventually and fell off.
Right.
You know, like, so it wasn't even on the ground. It was like sitting in the Labrador tee, like.
Oh yeah.
And so it was like there, and then so I'm like, okay, I freaked out. You know, I'm like, awesome.
Right.
I put it together, and I kind of like try to film it, and I'm like, oh, I got it, you know.
Right.
Excited, right? Like, because I'm in this.
Right.
And anyway, I tried to like kind of put it together or whatever.
Right. But then,
film.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say anyway, and so like I started trying to backtrack, but that bog was so killer.
Right.
That I was like, okay, I'll just go back to my little thing that I've got made tomorrow, and I'll kind of try and do the beginning half of the trail.
Right.
But I had jumped like 2 grouse, and I hadn't been seeing a ton of animals. I'd been seeing squirrels and stuff, but not a ton of grouse. And so of course, but I don't have anything on my bow, right?
Right.
Grouse flying away here and there, and so I was like, I gotta try and at least make like a little bushcraft arrow.
Right.
So like, kill one of these grouse, maybe. I don't even know if that's gonna work. You know, while I'm looking, because I don't want to use my good broadhead. That's my bear killer or my moose killer or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And so that's kind of what you see there. That like I made that arrow, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna make this arrow, and I'm gonna try and kill something with it.
Right.
And I made the arrow, and it was like God sent me a grouse, like, for not giving up. And
nice, man.
I couldn't believe it. I shot him, and it stuck in him, and he just fell out of the tree. And it was like stuck almost all the way through him, and I was like, this is it, man. I don't even need those arrows, you know.
Right.
I tried to look, but I kept telling myself after not finding them another day, I killed a squirrel and a grouse, and I was like, man, I just don't know if I even need them. Like I'm doing so well with the ones that I've made,
right?
That I don't know if I necessarily need to find them. Is it worth burning the calories? Like the squirrels and the grouse, they aren't going to keep me alive.
Right.
I means to kill a bear, you know. And by that time, I kind of found some bear sign, and I'm like, I have the means to kill a bear. So like maybe instead of burning calories, killing myself looking for the blunt tip arrows, I'll keep trying to fish, and I'll keep shooting squirrels and grouse with the homemade arrows, and you know, maybe it'll turn out for me.
Right. And you know, that's the show really focused on you using the arrows, right? Like that you made. You know, the show really focused on that, on you like using the arrows that you made, because also I think it's one of the first time that a lone participant built arrows in the show. Like, a lot of people have actually built arrows in the show, but I think you're one of the only ones that really got game with them. Were able to make homemade arrows and harvest game with that. I think you got a handful of squirrel, isn't it? And also grouse as well.
Yeah, I ended up killing 14 animals with the arrows that I made. So, you know,
I mean,
I was like really proud of that. In fact, in one of the commercials, actually in one of the commercials, where I'm like, shoot, you can see me, the camera's in the distance.
Right. Yes.
I wish I'd have made it to the show because I killed a grouse. That's what I'm doing, is shooting a grouse with one of the homemade arrows.
Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, no, that's cool, man. And yeah, no, that's very cool. But then you made, I was intrigued about, you got some cans and you made an arrow that you want to shoot a bear with. There's a lot of discussion online, like, would that kill? Would that not kill? People are like, debating that online. And were you planning on using that arrow to hunt a bear, like all the
That
way?
was arrow. That was my backup arrow. I got it real sharp with the file on my Leatherman. And yeah, so I planned on using that one as a backup arrow, and I figured if I got a bear and it wasn't a great shot or something,
right,
and I tried to wait it out and it wasn't quite dead or something, that I'd at least have a backup arrow that I could try to put it down with instead of having to worry about maybe getting mauled trying to kill it with a knife or something.
right. Although you had a very fucking big knife. Yeah, that knife could kill bears, no problem.
It made the arrows,
Right, true. And so one of the things that people keep talking, was talking a lot online, but then they kind of stopped talking about it because the focus was about you building homemade arrows and dealing and hunting and stuff like that, trying to hunt a bear. But a lot of people in the beginning were mentioning about your soap. A lot of people was like, soap? Why why he wants why he is choosing to bring a soap, and I made a video doing the review of all the participants items, and I was just like, people don't fool yourself, like there's a lot of thought on those choice, on choosing those 10 items. So don't think it's just, is it the regular soap, is it just what is going on there? Now that you're out, so maybe you can share a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, so the soap, the soap was was the first item. It was my number one item I knew I would take when I went on the show. When they told me they were going to be on, like, soap it is. And I said this actually watching the show previous season. I was like, man, I can't believe nobody has brought soap. I did it for a number of reasons. I had my soap custom made. It was made out of activated charcoal. It was coconut oil.
Interesting.
Pink Himalayan salt.
Oh.
Yeah, anise extract. And I'm trying to remember what else I had in it. But something, I think the rest of it was kind of just like filler. But
Right.
But so those ingredients, I chose those ingredients number one because I didn't want to get sick. I didn't want to get. Every year somebody gets sick on a loan and goes home, and it's heartbreaking because it's one of those deals. It's like, man, Luke, for instance, could go so far, and this is just it's a reality, and it's something that I think from the outside looking in at a challenge like a loan, you say, oh, why would you bring soap? But a lot of people die every year across the world just from household illness.
Right. True.
Being sick like that is no joke, especially when your immune system is compromised and you're cold and you're hungry. Yeah. Sickness is so it was like kind of a multi-tool in its own way.
Right.
Every time I would wash my hands or wash my face, I would save the water that I used and I would boil it. That was the only time I boiled my water, is I would boil that to get the germs off my hands. Yeah. And then I would drink it. So I was getting the salt and the little bit of salt from my soap. And that way it was kind of a natural detox as well as a electrolyte treatment.
There we go. Do you see? That's very new too. It's new to the show. Like, this is new. Like, it's not just a soap, right? I mean, there is multi-purpose to it. I think you needed Luke's bear and Luke needed your soap, and then both of you guys would go 100 days.
Right.
because
Right.
because look at me, had so much fish. He just
I
needed the
know.
soap to
I
make sure
know.
he didn't
I
get
know.
a parasite.
If only could have been paired up.
Right, right. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, thank you for sharing that because a lot of people's just like wondering, why a soap, right? Why not a ration, Um,
Right.
but this salt, that was clever, I have to say.
The charcoal, and there was enough in it that I knew that if I got like a stomach parasite or if I got like Giardia or something like that, that I could eat the entire bar of soap and it would be enough charcoal and everything to kind of purge my system of whatever that
Wow.
was.
Did you
And so,
try? Did you test the soap like before going to the show to see if you like? Did you try to eat?
yeah, I tried. Yeah, I ate some before the show. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
How did it taste?
Oh, it wasn't bad. It wasn't
Like,
bad.
was it salty
Uh,
or?
it was like salty licorice
Huh.
because
Interesting.
an extract what I use for flavor, for the smell,
Hmm.
because I like the way it smells. Who doesn't like the way licorice smells?
Right,
Um,
right, right.
but it's also a very popular bear lure.
Oh, look at that.
So we weren't allowed to bait the bears, but
But you
you know,
allowed to wash your hands anywhere,
myself and I'm gonna smell like something, I might as well smell like something bears like.
right? Right. Yes. Wow, wow, wow. No, that was a very clever, clever
Can't
item.
can't put out bait, but you can be the bait.
Right.
My
Well,
goal.
I made sure that when I ate my fish, I had like fat dripping. Just. uh, uh, um. Well, no, that's pretty cool. And did you use that soap like throughout your experience?
I did. And I actually, so I was really proud of my bucket. I wish they gave me more backstory on my bucket. Um, I took showers with my bucket.
Nice.
Yeah, I would boil water in my little tin, in my little titanium pot, and I would put it in the bucket.
You
And,
got
and
warm shower?
yeah, yeah, I was
What?
in the cold water out of the lake, and I was doing like half the bucket cold water, and then I would boil water in my titanium pot, and I'd get a whole 5 gallons hot, and
Wow.
then the way I had it rigged up was I had snare wire to the handle up over a limb to underneath the bucket, so I could pull on the snare wire
Right, right,
when it
right.
like rain on me and I could scrub.
It would be nice for the show, just a little bit of it.
I film it once I did the snare wire. I had filmed it before when I was just kind of like doing it with a rag. Like I used part of my long johns as a rag.
I
And I
see,
filmed.
yeah.
I looked really skinny, so I don't really know if they really showed that.
Ah!
But, uh, but I did with the snare wire. I didn't film any of that because it was too hard, and I didn't have any audio or anything.
Right, right,
Uh,
right, right.
Not a good way to do it, but man, it was pretty nice. It was just nice to have a hot shower because I was trying to keep myself clean,
Yeah, yeah, I know.
working hard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, that's pretty crazy. And now I have two last questions for you though. Right, one that's about your skit that you made that was super funny. But I was wondering, like, is he at a point in his experience that he's just delirious? Because I could see that, you know, he's like delirious and like just get a thought of I'm gonna do this thing, and because it was so well done.
No, actually, so I wasn't gonna do anything funny or stupid or anything like that. And remember when at orientation they showed us that intro to the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
and it had everybody's like it's the three guys,
Right,
and they're
right.
like going back and forth to everybody, and I knew I was like I gotta do something just for Pender because he likes the good, the bad, and the ugly so much. I'm gonna do a western for him because I know he's a western fan, and so I
Right,
thought
cool.
that'd be awesome. I'll just do something like that for him. And I thought about it for like a while. And then after I found the cans, that one had some holes in it and I couldn't use it for anything really. And I
Right,
was like, I think I can make something funny with this. Because I wanted to use the bucket for a funny skit,
right.
but nothing came to me. So finally I came up with, I'm like, what about like this guy that's like just randomly giving out berries that him and the bear are talking about me?
Right,
And I
right,
kind
right,
of
right. It's perfect, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way they put it, like the placement of that on your bear hunt,
Yeah.
it just worked. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I mean, talking about bear and at that moment, sort of more on the tail end of your experience, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think I do think the show did such a. I mean, the show is like there's a lot of bittersweet moments, right? Because the show needs to tell a story and needs to kind of like focus on certain things. Like for example, we didn't see you fishing, but you build a gill net, but your story was about the hunt, right? It was about losing the arrows, making the arrows, killing animals, but it was about that hunt. And by the end, there is the whole tale about the spirit bear, right? And when you're hunting the bear, but the camera, the way they show the camera is already like moving weird ways. You like about to pass out, but you don't. And there's sort of like a spirit bear, and you're like so focused on getting the bear. I mean, the way they made everything was really impressive and beautiful in the story that you told. So the spirit bear. So did you really feel that you're following like a ghost bear out there?
I first I have to say, I think production nailed that. It was incredible. I loved it so much. They took the story and they put visual to it, and like they just made it. It's they made it wonderful. Like it was something that was really important to me, and it really was a part of my story. It's something I thought about constantly.
Right.
So I'm so glad they used it. Um, in a way, I almost felt like I was chasing my spirit bear. He would come out at night, and he was nocturnal, and so the berry patch that I had, it was like a mound, like a perfectly like symmetrical mound,
Huh.
and it
Interesting.
was probably, I don't know, maybe 200 yards to the bottom to where it kind of flattened out in all places.
Right.
And from up there, I could kind of see the end of the island. I could see my bay, and I could see across to the other end of the island, and then kind of like a mountainy ridge. And so I had to pick a side of that to hunt all the time because it was too far for me to hunt, from the very top.
Right.
And so I found where the berries were thicker and bigger, and I hunted that. I made a blind, and I spent the night out there. I was getting so tired I couldn't go back and forth anymore. So
Right.
I was just spending the night out there in the blind, and I was cooking squirrels over little fires that would kind of come up the trees and stuff beside me. I would just kill them and then try to eat them like that. And anyway, I was kind of hoping that maybe between that smell and everything, it might bring the bear in. And there was 2 mornings that I woke up that he had eaten berries just like 40 or 50 yards from me, and he had left me a nice purple prize out there. He kept taking a dump like right out there. I swear it was like I can't
Oh man.
because you're trying to stay up 20. I'm literally 24 hours a day. I'm trying to stay up, just like laid up in these trees with my bow, just waiting. Like this is my shot. Like I gotta try and get him. And I was taking shots on squirrels and grouse that would come by
Wow.
close. But and it's just like so hard mentally to sit there in the same spot for so long, and
Right.
I'd have to get up and kind of like ease around. But anyway, yeah, there was a couple times. There was at least 2 times that he took a fresh dump overnight, just right by me. I just, you're tired and delirious, and
Right.
the bluebird was giving me nightmares, so I was having a hard time
Wow.
sleeping days, and the whole thing was really hard. And so it was kind of like I woke up. I woke up one time. He might have woke me up, but I woke up one time, and the northern lights are just like blasted across the sky.
Beautiful.
And I'm looking up, and in the northern lights, I can see the Big Dipper. And I'm sitting out there chasing him, and it just hit me, and I thought about the spirit bear, and I thought about, you know, that story, and I was like, this is just so relevant to my
Right.
experience, and so I'm so grateful that production used it, because it it really it really made uh it really made watching the journey on television worth it for me.
Right. Yeah. No, that was extremely beautiful, and just the way everything about that was that was a I have to say that part of your story there, and was a piece of art. It really was a piece of art, like the way they painted that. Um, and the thing is the amazing thing is, like, it was real, right? Like you truly were chasing, like like a spirit bear in a way, because since you never saw him, since you never got him, like it
Right.
was truly a spirit on so it's very, very, very interesting. And I mean, I would love to finish this on that note, but I really have there was something that happened there with you in your experience that is like, every time I think about it, I was like, man, that that is hard. Was when you passed out. It, I mean, like, okay, horrible that you passed out, but you had the camera on. Like, for TV, it was like jackpot.
I know that's actually um so I don't really remember.
Sorry to kind of make a sort of a weird thing about it, but like it's like they made us feel like, a little bit on your skin.
Right.
Ah,
And it was painful to watch for me.
oh, I can, yeah,
It was hard to watch, but not in a bad way or traumatic way or anything. It was just hard to watch, because I don't remember it. I don't really remember it. I remember I was sitting in my shelter, and I had some mushrooms and like a squirrel leg or something,
right, right,
and
right,
I was like drinking that broth and everything, and I remember just feeling like um I almost felt like the world was just like pulsing. Was the only way I can explain it.
mm,
Like, and I remember eating that, and I remember telling the camera that, like, man, I'm like hot and I'm cold, and I know that I'm coming to the end, but I'm not gonna give up, because today's the day. Like, today's gonna be the day. And
right,
I had enough energy. I knew, like, if I have enough energy, if I got a little drop of fat in me, if I could just have a little chunk of bear fat,
right,
I'd be okay. I'll be able to fight again. And I just couldn't put out that much more energy. But anyway, watching it, I can't believe I had the camera on. And
wow,
it's kind of funny, because um obviously I miss my check-ins, and we check in every morning and every evening to kind of like let them know that we're okay. We kind of text the
right,
owner.
yes,
And so, um, anyway, I missed my check-ins by like an hour. So production was actually getting ready, like they were getting ready to come look for me.
I
I think
see,
they were on the boat to come look for me. And when I woke up, and I don't really remember it, but I know that I called because I like missed my check-ins, and then I like vaguely remember calling in to being like, I remember being like, I need to call in and let them know I'm okay. And
right,
like thinking that, and holding the satellite phone in my hand, I was like, am I okay? And then it kind of just like, it just hit me, and I just like,
right,
I realized, like, at that moment, it just hurt me, because I was like, I knew that I just couldn't go anymore. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make it to that patch anymore. That, like,
right,
my hunt was over. I couldn't catch any fish. I just knew it was over, and I didn't want it to be. I'd have given anything to just be able to go a couple more days. And,
right, yeah,
uh, but so, like, I'm having all that like going on, right? And everybody's really respectful of that, and they like put me on the boat, and they like carried me off the boat. They like I couldn't get off the boat. It was like once my mind
wow,
knew, they carried me off the boat, and everybody was just really like kind and understanding that evening. And the
Wow,
next
wow.
felt a little better. You know, I got some electrolytes in me and stuff, and I kind of was
Right.
just like, but I was like, I was alive, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they told
yeah,
me
yeah.
going, and I was like, I'm all right, man. I'm just kind of sad. And they're like, well, you know, if there's anything we can do, did you
Right.
know the camera was on? And I'm like, no. And they're like, dude, we got it all on video. And I remember being like, holy cow, really? Like I remembered, like I said, I don't remember much. I remember talking to the camera, like holding the GoPro and being like, I know I'm done. And like, you know, at that point, yeah, I think for the fans, it's maybe hard to understand, but like for us, like it's like the camera becomes a part of it. It's like your best buddy, right? You're just
Right,
like,
right, 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 right.
right, everything is like, oh hey, look at that, man. You know, like you just like your camera is your friend. And so
Right.
anyway, I found the camera, but I didn't remember that I had the chest thing on, but I had been getting better, you know, like after the caribou, I was trying to be really good about always having a camera on.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
I can't believe it had enough batteries and everything and lasted for an hour.
That was
Um,
agonizing to see that clock going. It's like, oh my God, what the fuck? Huh?
yeah, I didn't realize it was that long. For some reason in my head, I was thinking it was I don't know, but I remember them telling me it was like a long time. They were like, it was a long time, like a really long time. They were all nervous about it, but I didn't remember exactly. I was just too out of it. But seeing
Right.
it on TV, man, and I didn't move too, man. I was out hard.
Yeah, you're out. You're out. You know, and for you to for that to happen, man, and you know, it doesn't matter how it doesn't matter who is in that situation, you know, when you lose control, right? You're like, holy cow, I am losing control of my body, right? I'm passed out. Like, that's scary. I mean, that's scary, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I kept telling myself, I knew mentally just from the lifestyle that I've lived and kind of all the time I spent alone and in bad situations and, you know, and trying not to die in the mountains out here. I knew that like, I knew mentally I'd be okay on the show and I knew I could push myself to that point. Um, but once you're there, it's just kind of like, well, now what? And it's like really, really depressing. It was like the most depressing moment of my life. Even though I don't remember it, I remember the feeling. I remember
Yeah.
I got. That's the only way I can explain it is that I don't remember the words that I said. I don't remember the. I don't remember going down. I don't remember getting up. But I remember that feeling in
Yeah.
my stomach, like just
Wow.
sad.
Yeah, 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 yeah. This is why I didn't want to finish on that note, but I'm glad we were talking about that because that's like that was the thing is like when the audience is like watching the clock run, we felt that sort of like you know some of that the show really tried to put us on your skin, you know, to a to whatever degree you know it's that's possible, but and you know and you know the one thing that everyone knows like dude you fought hard like you fought hard like you went all in you know and that's like that's you know that's incredible you know like you went all in there's no question about it like you know like
I appreciate it, man. I can't even tell you how many people I've had reach out and kind of say that it was inspirational and you know like how many people have kind of just like random complete strangers, tons of them, reached
wow
out and said, you know, like they're so appreciative for you know like the what I did and that it was inspirational and this and that. And I just it's not really I didn't I didn't think of my trip on alone. Like I didn't set out there for it to be that. I set out there to win. You know that was my
right
goal. And like
right
it's crazy that like I'm very appreciative. I'm very appreciative of that. I feel like um man, what a privilege that was, and like kind of an unexpected uh, joy out of it. Like that's my greatest. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that I was able to maybe help some other people out get through
right
some stuff. You
yeah
know, like
man
I don't know. It's a beautiful thing, man, to
yeah
know. I always imagined that like I could I could kill myself. You know, you like to think in your head
right
like
right
I
right
know I, and then I could go till I drop, and I kept telling myself I could, and then I just I did, and it was like it was an enlightening experience, and I'm very
Wow.
thankful.
Yeah. No, it's alone. It's for sure, man. I tell everyone's like it's a very unique experience, you know, and it's a beautiful experience, even when it's very hard, even when it's, you know, tough to, you know, but it's a beautiful experience, you know. It's a
Right?
very, very unique experience that, you know, not a lot of people get to have. And you know, having that support, right, the crew that can come to save you, you know, that really allows us to really push to place that we might not do otherwise, right? Because otherwise we truly just die, right? And we have loved ones. We do not want to die, but having that support behind us, we allow ourselves to then say, you know, have the support. You know, I won't die, so I allow myself to push really to the limit, and it should be okay,
Right?
right?
And I think that's something that's lost about the experience. I think on a lot of people, that I wish it was easier for people to to understand maybe that um there's so much pressure, right? When you're going on alone, right? Like it's not survival. It's
Right,
survival and television and keeping track of batteries and like
right,
you're not doing a TV show, man. They have tons of people doing TV shows, right? They got cameramen and guys that carry coffee and guys that are directors and guys that I don't even know. You ever watch the end of a movie? It's just like credits that are just like,
yes, yes,
and so you're one armed because you got a camera, right?
right,
You're hungry, trying to survive. You're trying to play by the rules. You're trying to not get hurt. You're trying to do things, in an ethical way. You're trying to like represent yourself well. You're trying to do all these different things. And it's everything from like shelter to food to water to filming. And oh man, my microphone's out of batteries and I got to keep
right,
on this, all these different little things. And so, like everybody's experience is unique to them because man, I'm not a camera guy. So like it's overwhelming, and then for
right,
some
right.
people lean on that. So every person's gonna have this unique, amazing experience
Yeah,
and and then they're gonna see it compressed so that it
right.
can actually air. And so, it's kind of those things where like for the viewers out there that like maybe to I wish you could see all of it. I wish they could see all of it because it
Right,
is a beautiful thing, and there's nobody that's ever been on the show that hasn't had a beautiful experience
right,
because it's unique and it's not something you can get in your backyard.
right, right. Exactly. That's a good point.
I've
See
been
now,
I've been living this lifestyle and taking people out on extremely remote backcountry fishing and hunting and things like that, and it is nowhere close to my experience on alone.
wow, wow.
And so
Right. Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I was talking with Ryan the other day, one of the producers, and we were talking with him, and it's like talking about the show, and also talking about like that the show is survival. Yes, it is storytelling. Yes, but overall, it's also like self-discovery, right? Like knowing your limits, learning a new limit, or knowing part of yourself that you're like, lem- let me think about this again, and you know, and by being by yourself, by being tested, you know, put into the test out there, uh, you know, I for once, like, I have been feeling the changes that I gained like 6 months later. I'm feeling the change now. You know, it's a whole different conversation that, but it's like I'm feeling the change sort of like being put in place somehow inside of me, you know, this last couple months. And it's a
right,
really powerful, you know, experience, like self-discovery, and you know, beyond the challenge, you know, and all that.
right. I think it's impossible to come out of the experience and not be changed. And I think that like for myself, I think that I'm much more personally aware of myself and my being. If that makes any sense, like
Yeah, yeah,
my attitude you know, like just like who I am as a person. I understand who I am a lot more now than I did before, and I thought I understood myself before.
Right.
You know.
Right. One thing that I feel that I feel that I'm more myself. I don't know if that makes it, but I feel that I'm more myself now.
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say, but I couldn't get it out. Yes.
No, yeah. Okay, yes. I'm glad to hear that, because I think it's like, is that just me, or is that, am I sharing this with? I've never talked with anyone on the from this season, about that. Yeah, you're the first person now talking about this, and it's like, I think I feel like more like myself in a way, whatever
Like
way.
an enhanced version. Yeah. Same way. Like I'm more me than I ever was.
Right. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible. And one thing that I would like to do, maybe in the fall, we're gonna keep this conversation going after, is that I would like to, to come to Wyoming and learn with you. Um, um, I'm not, I need more big game, experience, and also, just being out there. Never went to Wyoming, so the landscape is going to be completely new to me, and um, I'm really wanting to plan, a visit there and going hunting, work on your farm. I can do a lot of work. Like, I grew up doing
Yeah.
hard work, so
Absolutely, man. I'd love to have you. I'm really excited to kind of like, move into the next chapter, and I'd love to have you out and kind of show you some stuff. And I'm gonna be starting the guide school this coming next summer. I'll have the guide school going and
right,
all that. And, we
nice,
run
yeah.
trips and all.
I could be your assistant. Make sure
I
that
love it.
teach me how to pack this stuff, and I can be your assistant and learn under your belt there. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so let's continue this conversation, because I do really want to plan, because there's all the licensing, and when is the season for this or the season for that. But I do want to plan to come out there perhaps in the fall. Maybe there's some hunting opportunities, and or just helping you there, being your assistant, and somehow I learn fast, so that would be
I
that would be
love it, man.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do this. That's our next chapter there.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. Hey man, nice conversation. And we're gonna stay in touch, of course. And next episode, it's coming up soon, and we'll see what's gonna see what's up now.
I know. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. Big things coming.
Yeah, man. Cool. Nice talking to you. And awesome.
Okay, cool, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the wild.